All right, let's talk about my least favorite type of job so far besides part time jobs, commissioned based jobs. Now, back in March, I was hired by this company that called themselves, being in customer service. And the interpretation I had, because the only thing I knew about them was that they, sold, like what they sold and that they were full time, was that this is somewhere where you probably, clock in and answer, make phone calls, etc. But instead, what I discovered upon getting there was that not only was this a canvassing job where you knock on doors to sell your products, but it was also commission based, you know, which is where the amount of money that you get paid depends on how much you make. One of my relatives was basically said, if you don't sell anything, you don't get any money. But that's not true. To their credit, you do get some base pay for just being there. They know they can't get away with not giving you anything. So, in desperation and wanting to avoid having to keep working at the stupid restaurant, I took it, or I accepted the position. And within a couple of days, I really started thinking about what all I was going to have to do. Um, working from 9 to 8 o'clock at night, and the possibility of being fired over not meeting a quota. They wanted me, I think it was to sell. Their thing was, you knock on 80 to 100 doors, and they want you to sell at least 3 of their crap to people every day. And if you don't do that, they're gonna like review how often you're able to do it. And if you're not doing it as much as they want, then they reserve the right to terminate you. I thought this was really dangerous because, and I even had the lady like break it down for me. The reason they're able to get away with, paying people or having people full time is that they don't make any products, and whatever amount of money they make from their employees going and canvassing more than makes up for the salaries. Um, and when I hear that, I kind of get more upset because to me, it doesn't seem right to have someone working literally all day long. Like, not, and I'm not joking when I say from 9 in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, just working, right? But because they're not hitting this arbitrary number that you've crafted, you reserve the right to terminate them. And I said, also when going over there, I discovered that even though they were full time, which was again, I thought was a regular 9 to 5 job, it turns out they were 6 days a week. And I also took issue with this because I don't see why people have to work every single day except one. Like, I think that's ridiculous. I said before that my two biggest issues with the 6 day work week is that, one, I think people should have the right to have at least 2 days guaranteed off each week. That's just my opinion. But also that, if you're being used so heavily by this place, you can't get a second job in the meantime to kind of like, just as like a backup. Like, they want you to go all in on them when they're willing to, like get rid of you anytime they want for, once, like I said earlier, not meeting some metric that they've crafted. So that stuff together led me to just say, you know what? I don't think this is doable. Getting up at 9 in the morning, not getting back home until 8, or not until like probably 9 at night, and then having to be back up there the following morning. I just thought it was too much. So I walked away from that after about a week, and this week I did some videos on it. I started a new job that was caused by me just getting sick at the other place. I'm not joking when I say the one shift a week thing and the absurdity of like managers threatening to get me fired if I don't say hi to them really made me almost storm out of there the second to last time I worked over there. But I started with this new company, and they're not canvassing. They are they like sit in front of places. They go and promote their stuff by sitting outside of a store or some other area. And they're, once again, commission based, so you don't get paid hourly. The One of the managers told me that's because apparently people abuse the system, that they would, instead of sitting there and trying to sell their stuff, they would go and hang out and go on dates. And I don't know, I guess there's some like truthness to this, but once again, these products that they sell are not made by them, and whatever they sell, even if it's just a few of them a day, is covering the cost of having people work. So my sympathy for them is like, because like on one hand, I don't, even if I mostly do take the side of the employee, I don't like the idea of people like getting paid to just do nothing, like just to, not even like try to work. But the other part of it is, it is a legitimate job to sit outside from 10 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night in all types of absurd weather conditions, right? Sometimes you got the sun beaming down on you, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's raining, and no matter how bad the conditions are, you have to go outside, you have to set that table for, most of the day. And if you don't sell, I think their number is 8 of something, then they reserve the right to get rid of you when they want to. But I'm just saying that was an issue for me just from the jump, because I think people should get paid, hourly if they're going to be sitting outside somewhere all day every day. That to me is a legitimate job, even if they're not, selling whatever amount you want. And when I started with these people, they got me into the field much quicker than the other one did, where it was like a week to even go out there, which I ended up not even bothering with. So I go out there with them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yesterday, which is Friday. And Tuesday and Wednesday, it's pretty slow. Thursday, it ends up being even slower. And of course, as I'm sitting here in chaperone, because their main thing is to try and like lure you into that false sense of security. Oh, you're learning and da 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 da. So they try to like just say the main thing here is to just kind of like learn how it's done. As I'm sitting out there with them, I'm just thinking, this is kind of proving my point that sometimes, depending on where they send you, there's not going to be that much foot traffic, like people walking past you, or, really like anyone that you can try to market this stuff towards. And I think it's extremely unfair for the employee, who, remember, is not even getting paid hourly for sitting out here all damn day every day, to be blamed for people not wanting to, pick this up or buy it or whatever. So that, again, the issue there was also like, it's real. The foot traffic or the lack thereof is not the fault of whoever is tasked with performing this duty. Now, as the week progressed, I got into, and they told me when I started working there that I wouldn't get paid until 3 weeks in. The third week would be the first week you'd get a check, which I think is kind of goofy, because, I don't know why you have to wait almost a whole damn month just to get some money from your job. They gave some explanation of, because we're not in the system, then there's some crap. I just kind of like let it roll, just whatever. But as I'm driving with one of the guys yesterday, he tells me, starting with next week, or I think it was either next week or the week after that, we're going to start imposing our dress code. So that means long sleeve dress shirts and, dress pants and dress shoes. As I was sitting there thinking about it, because look, I'm gonna just tell you like it is. I don't own a suit, a tie, any of that stuff. I just, I have no reason to own that. I don't go to any formal gatherings. I don't. Okay, whatever. So like, what I took issue with is the idea that, and I was trying to explain this to one of my relatives, because he said, oh, well, anywhere you go, there's dress codes. Like, yeah, but it's only to a certain point. What I mean by that is, in all the places I've worked in the past, the dress code is usually a shirt and maybe a specific type of shoe or like color of pants. Working at the restaurant, they give you some shirts. You can wear whatever pants you want. Shoes just have to be, slip resistant. And with most other jobs I've had, again, it's usually a shirt that they give you, by the way. You don't have to pay for it. They give you at least, I think, usually 2 to 3 of those free. And then whatever other stuff you have, you get, the shoes, or, in some rare cases, pants as well. What I'm getting at is, like, most places, again, that I've worked, even in having a dress code, it's usually limited to like a shirt or maybe like a shirt and a shoe combination. This place wants me to buy a whole outfit, and possibly a whole series of outfits, just to work for them, and still possibly get fired after not being able to, once again, meet this metric that they're trying to get every day from sales. So you're going to work, get paid nothing for those first 3 weeks, but then go and spend $200, $300 on dress shirts and shoes and pants, and then when you don't make the sales, they can just terminate you in spite of you going out and buying all this stuff just to supposedly, fit their standard of appearance. And that was the point I was making, that even like just going beyond the fact of them wanting you to look a certain way and it being something that's like that you kind of just have to expect the person to have this to even be able to do it. There's also the factor of, we haven't even, like, we're not getting paid until week 3, but by week 2, you want us to go and again spend possibly hundreds of dollars before even getting a single check from this place. So yeah, I thought about the metric, right? You gotta sell. We want you to sell 8 of these every day, and how difficult that was even for their supposed seasoned pros, watching them sit there for hours on end, not having anybody even walk past their table. I thought about the crying about dress codes when, like I said, if you go out and buy that stuff, they reserve the right to terminate you anytime they want. So you would just be wasting money on a bunch of clothes that you're only going to wear for like a week or 2 weeks before you're out of there. And I just said, you know what, I'm good. I quit earlier today. And I guess the lesson I took from this is that I am open to most jobs, but what I try to do is think about how far can I really work here? To what extent am I going to be able to perform the duties of this place and possibly be here long term? And I'm not against trying to have some job where you sell things, but your ability to be employed there should not be determined by if someone else wants to buy it. Like, as bad as the restaurant is, and they're horrendous, right? The hour cutters, as I like to call them, whether someone buys a burger or not, when you are clocked in for that 4 or 5 hours a week, you are getting paid. Your job is not determined by if somebody else is picking up what you're putting out. It's really crazy just how much commitment they want out of you. Like, besides the arbitrary metric, right? The crazy, ridiculous hours, working 6 days a week. I even was going to make a whole separate video about why I think people should just at most be limited to 5 days a week, because I'm someone who's had car issues, right? Tires bursting and all kind of engine stuff. And usually it'll be a day where I'm off that I can go and get most things fixed. But when you're at work, again, from full time, 9 to 7 or 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Saturday, you don't have the time to get anything fixed, because you're up here all day, every single day. And then the one day that you have off, Sunday, a lot of stuff isn't even open. Like Chick-fil-A. I'm just saying, like, it's crazy how much they try to squeeze out of you. And remember, this is not a reciprocal relationship. Like, yeah, they have paid training. Yeah, they tell you during that first week, oh, just you're trying and you're learning this and I see improvement. But once you get to week 2 and 3 and 4 and you're still not, making the cut in terms of picking up the amount of stuff they want sold, they can toss you out. And then all that training, all those hours sitting up here thinking that you were going to get some job that was going to make it to where you could take care of yourself, it all goes up in flames. And because you don't have the time realistically to work anywhere else, unless you want to work every single day forever, or for the short term, you're out of any livelihood whatsoever. So I'm gonna go and look for some more stuff this week. And I should also say that, like, I've talked about how hard it is to get a job, but the pattern I've picked up on is that the stuff that's most available are things that nobody wants. And when I say that, I'm not even like trying to go like, I don't want this or nobody. Like, I'm actually saying that they are desperate. And I know that to be the case because the day I got hired by the newest one, I had 2 other job offers from people doing the same thing. And I only picked this one over the other ones because they weren't as far of a drive from where I stay at. But what has happened is that basically people like start these jobs, and after a few days, a few weeks, they're just like, yeah, this is dumb. There was a guy they had me working with who, and I'm not even bringing his age up to insult him, but he's like 40 something. And basically he had ran into a problem where he was showing up late to work over and over. And the explanation he gave is that he works another job that he starts after he leaves from this one around like 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Some kind of like, graveyard midnight shift. So he has to basically squeeze in another job in between the full-time one that he already has, because the full-time one that he already has, this lovely commission-based job, is not going to pay him for 3 weeks, while the other job, he knows he can expect a check every 2 weeks. And that was the rationale he gave, that he needs his bills paid and he can't sit here for almost a whole damn month making nothing. But that's why people are like so reluctant to do these jobs, and why they are almost becoming like the Kmart of open positions in my area. I mean, I'm seeing so many. Thank you for applying to blank management and our marketing team, and these jobs are plentiful because people sign up for them like, okay, I need a full-time job, and whatever, and then they sign up. They find out it's got crazy hours, 6 days a week, full time, 8 hours, 9, 10 hours a day. Then they find out they need to like hit some arbitrary sales number. Then they go out in the field and they find out that sometimes you get sent to areas where nobody will walk past you in some cases for hours. And then they quit. They're like, yeah, this is nothing. I can't get anything out of this. I'm not even getting paid hourly to sit out here all damn day every day. So these jobs, man, they need to go the wayside. Like, I wanted full-time work, but when I say full-time, again, I'm thinking of a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, not 50, not 60, and definitely not 50 or 60 when you're not getting paid per hour. It is crazy that this is even a thing that is. And look, some people, the guys that they have, usually the way this goes is that whenever there's a job that kind of is like crappy, there's like some people who can stay on it for a long time because they've kind of learned how to do it or whatever. So there are people who can pull this off. But for most of us who aren't, helped out by mommy and daddy and like actually need to get something where we can just pay our stuff, that's where the generational divide starts to show itself. But man, the dress code thing was funny. It's like, hey, person who's not getting paid until week 3, go out and spend hundreds of dollars by week 2. And then, if we decide to get rid of you by week 4, well, that's just money that you burned for nothing. Man, I don't ever want to work somewhere where my livelihood is determined by if somebody else buys something. I know that they talked about the powers of persuasion, but you can't persuade someone that's not there. You can't persuade people who already have the product. You can't persuade someone who just is not. They don't qualify for this stuff. I mean, it's really that simple. That there are so many different factors that can lead you to go somewhere and just receive nothing, and then you're going to get blamed for it. And I don't think that's fair to me or to any other employee. But yeah, you are seeing in real time why people, why those jobs have so many listings available. Like I said. I believe it was Friday, I was offered 3 jobs after that day where I did the 7 interviews. All of them were this. And again, it's not because I'm some extremely attractive candidate who's so dynamic. No, it's because they are desperate. They're looking for people. People quit on them left and right. And they I don't know. It's like a combination of their desperation, and also the fact that the misleadingness of it, where people really do just want to have a regular job and it ends up being something else. But yeah, it's sad that this is the state of employment, where even if you work 50, 60 hours a week, you still might not even make that much money. because they've switched it from hourly to commission based. Man, the next time I apply for something and I see that in the header or title of it, or they say it during an interview, I'm just going to just storm out of there. It is pointless.